Okay.
Hello, everybody. I'm going to call the Plainfield Housing Advisory Committee meeting to order at 5:05. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I don't know if you have any public people. The first agenda item is the approval of the minutes, both minutes from February 11th and February 25th. So we'll approve the February 11th minutes first. Somebody wants to move to do that?
I can now pick them up. I can't get them on my computer.
Well, tech issues is an agenda item later, so we can.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Does anybody else want to move to, was anybody else able to?
I can see him. I move that we approve the meetings from February 11th.
Any second?
Sure. Second.
And all in favor or all opposed? All
Favor?
in favor, yeah. Well, I don't know if you have to do that. Sorry, it's my first one. All right, meetings from 225. Was anybody able to check out those? Or have me? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
good.
Move to approve minutes.
I second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting minutes have been approved. Are there any changes to the agenda that anybody would like to add? I did want to add just a quick update from the community and outreach group because it has to do with the money that Nick's going to be talking about. So it'll only be 5 minutes. I'll stick that at the end. And then just a reminder about our community agreement for this meeting. We're going to be open-minded, allow people a chance to say their ideas, disagree with ideas, not people, and we're going to try and stay on time. Does anybody have any comments or want to talk about those? Are there any public comments? Do you have any public comments? All right. Nick, we have Nick here, Nick Parker from the Vermont Council for Rural Development. Yeah, I got that right. So he's going to be presenting on that pot of money that we have that we can use by, I think it's the end of March. I did meet with Nick a couple weeks ago and we weren't able to talk about it at the meeting last time because of tech issues, but they're here today. Take it away, Nick. Thank you for being here.
Hey, good evening, everybody. As Lydia said, my name is Nick Parker. I'm the Community Programs Associate at the Vermont Council on Rural Development, and it's good to be here virtually once again in Plainfield on behalf of our Climate Economy Resilience Community Program. Normally, Laura Cavan Bailey, the program's director, would be here tonight, but I'm here in her place. And actually, even though my name's on the agenda, I'm going to turn it over to Jessica Savage, VCRD's Director of Programs and Strategic Initiatives, as she also heads up our MTAP program. She'll be able to introduce that and also be able to answer your questions. So, Jessica, why don't you go ahead?
Sure. Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Great.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Nice to see some familiar faces from the Plainfield Forward process. I'm Jess Savage. I work at VCRD and yeah, so we're here just to, I'd love to maybe hear from you as part of this more than actually talk. Because as Nick said, I've been administering these MTAP funds for about 2 years now. And we shared some of the guidelines for how these funds can be used. But I often find that it's better to just have a conversation with a group and maybe brainstorm some things that you're thinking about doing in the next little bit here. So I'll say just a couple of things about the funds, and then I'd love to, if it's okay with the chairs and with this group, to just maybe ask some questions of the group. Does that work for you all?
Yep, that sounds good.
Great. So we set aside $5,000 for each of the task forces that formed after the Plainfield Forward process. We do have a bit of a timeline on these funds, but I don't want you to worry about that in our conversation tonight. I think that decisions about funding made under pressure maybe aren't the best kind of, it doesn't feel great. So maybe we'll set aside the deadline and we'll be as flexible as we can with the time that we have left with these funds. To be super clear, we have this grant agreement from the Agency of Administration that allowed us to provide technical assistance for all different kinds of activities. Community needs assessments, which for us looks like either a large or a small facilitated process to help a group decide what priorities they might have. Opportunity needs assessments. Once you have a priority, let's talk about all the different steps and pathways and perhaps funding sources that you might be able to identify to move something forward. Permit assistance, that's not really been something that we have done ourselves. We've outsourced that work to other consultants and people with more technical skills. Project implementation support, project management support, again, something that's not really a core competency of us, but we have provided funding to support contracts for consultants to do that kind of work. And then the last sort of amorphous category that AOA created was capacity building activities, which we've done all kinds of things that I would put in that bucket in terms of like, we've sent people to conferences, we've provided support to take a course, some kind of training. We do need to get approval from AOA for those activities, but they've said yes every time we've asked to things in those categories. It could also pay directly for staff support, stipends, things like that. We would have to ask AOA, but again, they've been pretty supportive. So those are the kinds of activities that this funding can be used for. And then in the categories that it can be used for, housing is squarely right there. They named some specific community and economic development goals that they really wanted communities to get some support for, and housing, childcare, water, wastewater were named priorities, as well as climate resilience activities. So we were really excited when you all chose housing as a main priority, because we could also easily feel like we could offer this $5,000 to your group. We have this funding through June. It has to be spent by then. And so we have these sort of internally set deadlines of trying to get groups who have this funding to use it as soon as possible. But that's why I was saying maybe we could set aside the worry about like, oh gosh, we have to use it by the end of March. I think initially we were trying to get things wrapped up for us. So that's what I can tell you about the funding. I'm happy to take any questions on that. And then I'd love to hear maybe what you guys are thinking about activities in the next little bit here.
I know something that Nick and I had talked about was like the management of the money within Plainfield, for example.
Sure.
I have to reach out to the select board to ask how they might think that it would be done, but I'm just wondering how that's typically done. Usually
Sure.
funds.
Yeah, well, we try to make it as easy as possible. So in this case, the select board has already said yes to the whole shebang. Like they said yes to Plainfield Forward. They've said yes to you as a committee. So I feel like you have the proper like connection to the select board in terms of making sure that whatever you prioritize, they've said yes to, and I assume you would ask if anything felt like you needed to get their approval to do. So given that, I feel like we can work with you to make it as easy as possible. In some cases, we've helped find and pay for a consultant. So if tonight you told me, we really want to do some kind of, I don't know, again, whatever you came up with, if you wanted a study of some kind or an assessment or a survey, we have a list of about 20 consultants that we reach out to. We could bring them to you. You could meet them, you pick the one you want, and then VCRD can, we can handle the contracting if that relieves some burden from you, and we could just do it and pay for it. Or if you want to do that yourself, that's also fine, and we'll just pay for it. You can just invoice us for the work. So we've tried to we understand that especially volunteer-led efforts really, it can be a pain to deal with the approval process, or to have to find a way to really make it work. So we've been pretty flexible with the mechanics of the funding. I know that's not a direct answer, but hopefully
Well,
that's
no,
helpful.
That's super helpful.
Okay.
We'll just check in with the select board to see if they have an opinion, if they would rather we invoice, but, I mean, it
Sure.
sounds like it'll be pretty easy, like you said, so.
Yep.
In that
Mhm.
line, so Jessica, is the money already with the town or are you still holding the funds?
No, we still have the funds as part of our MTAP budget at
My
VCRD.
question is, so has the
Mhm.
Resilience Hub group used any of their funds yet? And if so, how did they use it for inspiration, for example?
Yeah, no, that's great. Well, you should definitely talk to them, but they have used their funding. They decided that their big next step as a group was to do a strategic planning exercise. And to do that, they wanted to use the funds to both pay the facilitators of that exercise as well as to provide stipends for participants in that work to produce a strategic plan for the group. So it
Are
was
they
pretty.
acting
Mhm.
are they acting as their own facilitators? Is that group, are they the strategic planning leaders?
In that case, it was Ray and Francis Rose that
Okay.
were contributing the most labor there. And again, we try to be flexible. If this is what a
Yeah.
group says they need, it's an eligible activity because it helps move towards project implementation. So again, the mindset is, does this help us move towards, in your case, building housing in Plainfield, or creating a housing strategy in Plainfield? And if so, um, is it one of these activities? Is it an assessment of some kind? Is it some kind of planning activity? Is it a facilitated process that moves you forward and towards that ultimate goal? Another really good use of these funds I've seen with groups is to hire a grant writer. If you're like, oh, we really want to do this thing, but we just can't write one more grant, or we really need some support with that. Or we need somebody to do some research for us on some possible funding sources, or help us create a fundraising case study, or give us some general writing that we could use and repurpose in grant application.
We're having still a little trouble with sound from the room. If people speak up or move a little closer to the laptop, that would make it easier. Thanks.
Okay, sorry about that. Is that better?
A little better.
Okay, I'll try from here.
That's
on out.
good.
There it is.
Does anybody have any questions about, or have any ideas about what we might want to use the money for? I know we had talked a little bit in one of the first meetings about maybe community and outreach, or some like maps, maybe. I had also talked to Nick a little bit about a survey, maybe hiring a third party to kind of go out into the community and just ask what people's input is, what they want to see out of this. I also like the ideas of the assessments. I think those would be really helpful, but I don't know what other people are thinking. I feel weird yelling.
No, you gotta yell.
Can you describe the assessment options that you're thinking about?
Yeah, so Jessica was saying there's community needs assessments, which we're going to be talking later about the takeaways from the last meeting. I think that would mesh really well with what Joe, Eric, and that other gentleman were talking about how they've gone through, like, they had to kind of figure out what the community needed first and wanted.
This was from our last meeting.
Yeah.
The guests that we had, the visitors, yeah.
Yeah. So the community needs assessment might be a good idea, along with some survey, or maybe that would be embedded. And then Jessica also said an opportunity and opportunity assessment, or opportunity and strengths assessment, needs assessment.
I think that was kind of a question to you, Jessica. Is that what it was called? Opportunity and needs assessment?
Yes, an opportunity needs assessment, which is defined as, you could do things like a landscape analysis of funding opportunities, project next steps. Our colleagues at VLCT, who I think many of you met through Plainfield Forward, do a really thorough, tell us your situation, and they'll kind of tell you all the different things you could be thinking about as the opportunities for the next steps, including funding. Again, it's more of a like strategic look at all the different opportunities around housing in your community. And there are definitely like either private consultants that do that work. I also want to say that this funding is meant to provide technical assistance writ large, and you don't have to use it for the capacity for that. So you could still get support for any of these activities in other ways, is what I'm trying to say. You could go to your regional planning commission, say, for a housing needs assessment or for an opportunity needs assessment around housing once you have that housing needs assessment. But thinking of these funds as like either like an infusion of like rocket fuel for a thing that's a barrier right now, and then maybe there's like the longer term technical assistance from these more abiding sources, is maybe a framework for it. Like what would this funding really help you kick off or boost or really break through a barrier right now, and then we could think about like the best way to move that money to you.
So either the opportunity and needs assessment or the strategic planning exercise that the Resilience Hub did, is that kind of like building a timeline for projects? I don't know if either one, if the strategic planning would be more kind of geared towards that. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you could definitely touch base with the Resilience Hub folks, and just generally speaking, I bet you guys are connected in town, but between the two groups, it's always good to stay in touch since you were prioritized together. So you could definitely ask them, what did they do? I don't actually know the details of that. And maybe I would turn that question right back to you and say, what do you all need? Like, what is it that is your next step as a group that seems the most evident to you? And could these funds be helpful in that way?
Something that, oh, sorry,
Can you
David.
hear me? Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
No? I think I'm standing up so I can talk louder. I think that the whole committee needs to spend some time. Now, if we understand, when there's a deadline, we're putting that aside a little bit, but I think we need to establish our priorities.
Yeah.
And that's going to take a little bit of conversation. I have a lot of different ideas floating around in my head for what might be the priorities, and some of the work groups have kind of, I think, started to, at least I feel like we've started to identify certainly things that we'd like to accomplish, but we may need to have a meeting. I don't know if it can be this meeting, but where we really, now that we've had a few meetings and some work group meetings where we really kind of hone in on what's the overall picture of what we want to accomplish. Like, for example, needs assessment. Well, I'm not that worried about that because I can see a lot of needs. Long-term planning, yeah, I think long-term planning is really important because we're kind of behind the 8 ball, so we need a plan and then help executing it. And I'm sure we each have that stuff. And the public outreach part, I think for us to be successful, I'm going on a little bit, but I think for us to be successful, we want to have as many parts of the community buy into whatever we decide, but we also want to incorporate their priorities into our priorities. So we need a little time. What I took a long time to say.
Well, yeah, and unfortunately we didn't get to it 2 weeks ago. So I was hoping to share all that info last meeting. But yeah, I agree with David. I think maybe we'll take this information in and talk and see kind of what we think we want to do with it. And what I was thinking is I'll probably start an email chain sometime this week with everybody, and so we can discuss more about it and get back to you before hopefully the next meeting with some kind of plan. So we don't wait another 2 weeks. I don't know how everybody feels about that kind of idea. But we can definitely discuss it more and email with each other.
We
Um,
might be able to kind of codify it
Mhm.
at the next meeting, like,
Yeah.
you know, kind of,
Solidify what we're doing.
you know,
Yeah.
pass ideas around and thoughts and then hone in. I don't think we'll have any trouble coming up with a plan this time.
Oh, no. Well, yeah,
I
and
don't
then,
know.
and then she said that, you know, we don't necessarily have to stick to that super hard deadline, but that was in my brain of like, we gotta get this done soon, so.
Right, Jessica mentioning that the deadline lives in June instead. We believed it was this month, so we were a bit panicked.
Yes, yeah. And I think it's more like we want to make sure that you have time to spend the money because it absolutely ends, like there's no more,
Yeah.
no way that we could move money to you after the deadline of our grant.
Yep.
So we want to give you plenty of time to do your work, get the invoices in. I know it takes time. So I just wanted to come tonight, maybe relieve a little bit of that stress, but also urge some amount of
Action.
speed, action. And I just want to remind you, and maybe this is, I don't mean this to be like basic or insulting in any way, but you have your Plainfield Forward report where your group did, at
Right.
least at that initial meeting, you have some action ideas and you've named some tonight. And maybe it's just a matter of picking one priority. And if you did do a community-based housing needs assessment where maybe you want to talk to your friends and neighbors in Plainfield and find out what types of housing they're looking for, what kind of housing opportunities your community is looking for, and maybe that's what you're talking about. We do have some other communities we've worked with that have done something like that recently. I'm not sure what the costs were associated with that, but certainly there would be costs associated with it, even if you did it yourself. And I think in the cases I'm thinking of, they might have done it more like themselves or with their regional planning commission. But if that's helpful and you do go in that direction, again, you were asking about examples from the Resilience Hub. We have examples of other housing task forces and what they've done and how they did it. And we could connect you once you decide what your priority is or priorities are. The other thing I want to mention is I know that there was a housing charrette at one point. That was another use of MTAP funds, both in Plainfield. We did support that a little bit. But Bridport, their housing task force, did a housing charrette and they used this funding to support a consultant to do that. They had a parcel of land that they wanted to hear from the community about what they wanted. So maybe that's not where you're at as a group, but that was another use of MTAP funds in a housing task force. I just wanted to mention.
Can you define charrette? I don't know that word.
Yeah, it's a funny word, right? It's I wonder what it means. I speak French and I don't know what it means. The
Design, I think.
the design. No, I know what it means, but I mean like it's like it sounds like a foreign word, but I don't know. But yeah, it's like a design planning meeting with the public. So you can ask and have architects and landscape architects, people who can actually take what people are saying or have people write on a map and then try to translate that into some renderings of those ideas so people have like a visual sense of what's possible with a certain place. So Bridport did do that. Anyway, whatever you decide, we can find you some support for, I'm sure. The other thing, I know it's on your agenda later to talk about the VCDA conference, and I don't know if you're going to say this later, but we do have some funding set aside from the bigger pot of MTAP funding in order to pay for any new housing task forces like yourselves to be able to send to people. We can cover the costs of your registration for that conference if you have people who want to go.
That's
probably
great.
Got that on the agenda later. I know know that I
Great.
want to go, but we can talk about it.
Yeah. And if there's more people, let us know. I haven't gotten a lot of uptake. I've only gotten 2 people from another town. So if you have more people, don't. Again, we try to be flexible.
Yeah, we were thinking doing a Hunger Games thing, but I guess maybe we don't have to do that.
Maybe you don't.
I mean, we have, you know, around 10 more minutes left on this agenda item if we want to do some talking about it now. I know it sounds like, you know, David and maybe some others want to think about it more, but does anybody have any ideas or comments or questions?
I liked when this is Vicky, I liked when we had the guests our last visit and they talked about, you know, agriculture, you know, blending things, knowing who they were, what their image was, and then figuring out a strategy from that, whether it's arts, crafts, agriculture, whatever.
Identity for the town.
It's an identity, yeah. I like that, knowing that and how you can find that out and then base your strategic plan on that and where you're heading.
Yeah, and that will get more buy-in from the community if they agree with or, you know, it is part of their identity. But I think that we have to get people to participate is the big thing. So like even people coming to a meeting to do a charrette, for example, I don't think people are even in that headspace right now. And I think it would be the people who are already involved and aware, but my thought is we want to get the people who aren't at the table, which is why I really liked the idea of like a third-party survey, somebody who can actually kind of reach out and try and go, like you were going door to door, kind of like, I don't know how a survey would be conducted, but has to be accessible to everybody. So, you know, a face-to-face interaction with somebody that they associate with negative things about the town housing, you know?
Was someone trying to speak? It sounded like we heard some sound there from you guys. No?
It was my son coming in to show me a lollipop that he's eating.
I mean, I'll put out there where my mind has been going, but I'm not saying that this, you know, it's where my focus has been going, and it's partly as a result of now having had 2 walkthroughs of the village, both the lower village, what I call the lower village, and the upper village. And you know, because I'm a builder, I always start at the bottom. Start at how do you hold up your building? And our village is quite dilapidated, both from the flood, but also a lot of buildings that were dilapidated pre-flood and that maybe have accelerated some because of the flood. I'd have to look at the list, but you know, there's several dozen buildings, and you know, my feeling after having heard the Hardwick and St. J people is that we need a plan to fix up the village, whether we want to use the word revitalize. I don't know what the right word is, but I think that's where the priority should start, as opposed to, oh, we're going to build a bunch of new stuff.
Yeah.
You know, that to me, that's like, I could come up with some objectionable parallels, but that's like, you know, putting a new roof on a house when the foundation is crumbling, to me. So, you know, my goal or focus, at least before hearing everybody else's feedback, is how can we fix up the village? And a big part of that is not just housing. You know, we looked and talked a lot about all the connections and sidewalks and guardrails and fences and, you know, ways to make the houses more livable and absentee landlords and, you know, all of those things. So
I just wanted to quickly recognize that we might not need to keep these guys here. Jess and Nick, I don't know if you need to stay on. You can. You look great on screen. It's nice having you.
I mean,
So-
I had another question.
Oh, okay,
that-
wait, that's, okay, so this,
Yeah.
but I just want to try and focus on, because if they're gonna be with us for a couple minutes, I just want to make sure that we,
Yeah.
do their area, first.
Yeah, I was assuming that more questions might come out of the discussion. Jessica, I was wondering if, the opportunity and needs assessment is similar to a SWOT assessment that's kind of used in like permaculture design and stuff, but like strengths, weaknesses, assets, I forget what the T stands for. But is the assessment very like all encompassing, or you do just look at opportunities, or is there a way to, like focus maybe on a couple areas and do an assessment where we do all of that stuff, not just opportunities?
Yeah, absolutely. So what's hard is this is language that I'm sharing to you from the Agency of Administration grant agreement. So these are broad categories. A community needs assessment can be a whole bunch of things, including the Plainfield Forward process. That was a community needs assessment. What you're talking about in terms of you did a community housing needs assessment, that could also be a community needs assessment. An opportunity needs assessment, it's more like the opportunity of the project and the needs that that project has. So it's like a broad category. So absolutely, it could be like if you did have your housing strategy and then you were looking at, okay, what do we need to do to implement or move towards implementation? So each of those categories are government ease, government language. And I worked for the government for a long time, so I know we do this. It's bad. For moving from idea to planning to implementation of a project. So it's like I would say that maybe just those are general categories was meant to be helpful. If it's a little confusing, I it's not my language, but I would say that activities that move from ideation to implementation of a project in the category of housing are pretty fair game for us to be talking about.
Gotcha. That's good.
Is that helpful?
Yeah, I'm a
Okay.
very specific person, so it's helpful.
Yeah.
Like, telling me, don't worry about it.
Well, I don't mean don't worry about it, but I do mean like as long as you're not, there are certain things that are not eligible for these funds.
Yes.
Maybe that's helpful to know. You
Okay.
can't use it for entertainment or alcohol. You can use it for an event and the costs associated with renting a space, paying a facilitator, say, having food, paying for childcare, all the things that it would take for people to be able to show up to an event that is leading, again, from idea to implementation of housing.
Okay.
There's very narrow thing. You can't use it for capital costs. So you couldn't use it to buy, I don't know what you would want to buy, a generator. Somebody asked us if we could buy a generator for their community center, and we said, sorry, that's a capital expense. That doesn't move you from idea to implementation of a project.
Okay.
And Nick
Does that help?
did share, Nick shared a list of things that we couldn't use it for. We do have a resource of that to reference also. We'll pull that out and share it again.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Jess.
Yes.
And Nick, I don't know if anybody else has any more questions before we let them run away.
No, appreciate it.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Thank
definitely
you.
drop us a line or email or call if you have any follow-ups at all.
Great.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks a lot.
All right, have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Could I just go back to what David was saying really quickly? So going back to that, what you were saying, David, it's like we have this great resource, I think, in the not consensus, but the group feedback that came from the Plainfield voter process. I think that might be the first place we go back to right now and just kind of look at the ideas that are laid out there. I wonder, I haven't seen the actual, is there a pamphlet that
There's
came,
a book.
there came a real
They have the
pamphlet?
library.
And is it, I think they had the juried ideas at the end. Was that
I believe
included?
they were in there. I didn't bring my with me.
That might be like a way to kind of head back. look for the resource of what the town consensus is on priorities. It might help us start to think about our.
Yeah, I think that without having it right in front of me, I know that the priorities were definitely defined as like resilience hub and housing.
Yep,
But I
those two.
don't know, I think there were a lot of other
There
things
was
that were
10,
bubbling up.
at least 10.
So now that it got sort of winnowed down to those two committees, it might be worth revisiting housing specifically to be like, hey, what's everybody's thoughts on housing now that we are actively working on it, as
Yep.
opposed to, there might be some in there that are specific enough to become actionable.
Yeah.
But I think it's probably worth revisiting
Yep.
on a community scale.
Yeah.
So
If it's not well defined.
I think that would be a good idea. I do want to bring up the point though, that part of what came out of the last 6 months is that there are a lot of voices that have not been heard.
Mm.
So I definitely don't think that we should take Plainfield forward as the definitive guide for what the needs are in the community, because there's so many people that weren't able to attend that didn't know it was happening, that didn't have their voices heard. So I think it would be a good start, but I think that we should still consider ways to get more people's voices, because there could be other concerns that aren't listed on Plainfield Forward.
Hmm.
Or that came out of Plainfield Forward. I, for example, would have loved to go to that. It was not accessible to me because I have a child, I'm a single parent, I was working overtime. So I just get bits and pieces. I didn't even know there was a book that was at the library until I started joining this, until I joined this committee. So I just want to point that out, that we should definitely just consider other opinions as well.
Yeah, I think that's an important point. But I think we do have the resource.
Yeah,
you know,
like
so
the
I think
starting-
we utilize that and we expand
Yeah.
upon it. I really like your idea about the revitalization
Yeah.
in the town. You know, my brain fast forward and I'm thinking of, oh, well, what if we had, a large map in front of us and we said, oh, well, we need sidewalks here, or, or we can do something with these houses here and work a plan out and a priority to all of that. That's where my head was going when you brought that up.
That could be more of the low hanging fruit, where then we also get more buy-in from the community because we have a action plan for making it at least look nicer. So
I wonder, I mean, the outreach piece, in terms of spending money,
Mhm.
I think the outreach piece is a great place to spend the money, because $5,000, like, if, what I visualize is, oh, well, and this, again, partly, I don't have a strong visualization, but partly based on what the Hardwick and St. J guys talked about. This is not a 1-year plan or a 2-year plan, it's probably a 10-year plan.
Yeah.
At least what I kind of think of, even outside of a lot of new housing, just fixing up what we have and having better connections and I don't want to ignore the creative campus either, because I think in a lot of ways that can be part of some of those connections and maybe the hub, the idea of what kind of hub can we be. I would feel sad if there's not some agriculture involved, but that's just, but how we do that, how do we outreach and how do we spend that money for outreach, survey, newsletter, and really reaching people, because for sure that has been a part of the division in the community, is people not feeling like they've had a voice.
And then even if we are making progress, but there are those voices that still aren't being heard, and they're still not creating, but maybe voicing opinions that could cause more chaos or disagreement. But actually Hazel and I have been talking about that a lot with the community and outreach, which is why I wanted to do a little check-in later. So we have a bunch of ideas. And actually this is a perfect segue into the review of the takeaways from that last meeting when we had the guest speakers come. And I think that's a really big one that you mentioned, that there is a timeline that maybe we didn't understand, or maybe the community doesn't understand. And so actually bring it back real quick, I'm wondering if we can do some kind of assessment or strategic planning where we kind of lay out like that timeline, like some shorter things that we can do, like to revitalize, some more medium length projects, and then 10 to 15 years we're hoping to have this. Yeah, I don't know what everybody else thought of that meeting. Anybody have anything to share?
I guess I'm.
I thought it was a great meeting. And the thing that mostly stuck with me was this idea of figuring out what your town's identity is or could be, and sort of focusing your efforts in a concerted way to make that happen or make it happen faster or improve upon it. And it wasn't just housing, it was obviously sort of light industrial and agricultural and the creative economies as well. So, I mean, that may be a little bit beyond the scope of our advisory committee, but it's certainly interesting to think about.
Yeah, for sure. Agreed.
Go ahead, Rose.
I guess one of the things I'm thinking is that if we are going, maybe do a survey, would think to do a survey of the village, of the residents of Plainfield. And we might want to already say, I think it's appropriate, maybe, that the group might agree that we want to improve the upper and lower village, the look and the livability of it. And we want to improve the neighborhoods. So this really addresses a lot of issues like, can you walk around? Can you cross the street? Can you feel safe? And can you, is there someone there? Like we noticed in the the upper village on the eastern side, there's not enough people. There are many houses empty out of the 10 houses that are down there, or maybe there are more than 10. But there were four, at least 3 empty ones. I think I'm correct to say 3. I know yes, there's
Even more.
now 1 empty, left with the porch falling in, and 1 is over a wet area, a stream bed, and that's unlivable. So in the meantime, there's always somebody who just died, and their place is empty, or something else has happened. We want to make that, if we want that to have real estate value, we want that to have paper value, we have to help them make some changes there.
Yeah.
I would hope we could agree on that kind of stuff. We notice it. So then we maybe want to also say that we can agree that last meeting and our opportunity to hear from the leaders of 2 local communities about their the long trajectory of community building they have had, and the forming and the importance of forming an identity, an image, and then thinking about, well, what could ours be, and maybe that's another thing we could be asking people. But I certainly think that we can't ignore that we have the opportunity right here, to have the creative campus as a opportunity, as a maybe a focus that can be a big asset to defining who we are as a town. Rather than define who the town has, how the town has functioned in spite of everything for the last, 50 or 70 years.
It's been a foundation for the community.
Yeah.
And then always, there's always a town and gown, tension. But we can recognize that there's still that other piece of the town as well.
Yeah.
There's the artistic side of our town and the creative side, and then there's the simple rural community. And how can we embrace that? I don't know. So maybe those are the kind of things we want to sort of make as our premises as we put out a survey and asking people, what do you think?
Oh yeah, like this is where we're starting. How do you want to go forward? Kind of.
Any ideas of how we could make this happen?
Yeah.
Any suggestions, whatever.
Yeah. So I
think Chris has a comment.
Oh,
If there's
sorry.
no, it's okay.
Yeah, but I was just gonna summarize the kind of like the big things, but I'll wait until John?
Yeah, we're as far as responding to the meeting last time,
Yeah.
I kind of saw those guys, especially hardware guys, are focused on the creative economy. The economic drivers was really their focus. I didn't hear them talk about housing much. Maybe not at all. And then St. Johnsbury, Joe Kasperzak, assistant town manager there in St. Johnsbury, he was really focused on building out a range of affordable housing up to market housing, condoized and rental units. I didn't hear anybody talk about freestanding housing development of those two groups. Did anyone else catch that and I miss it? Because I feel like that's the trickiest thing that we're facing is the idea of how to create that opportunity. It's a hard thing to get a sense of from a distance. It seems like a very personal pursuit, you know?
Yeah.
It's interesting to hear the teams up here envisioning what they will do in as far as try to propose ideas of that. And it's what I'm hearing is very exciting and very promising. And there's going to be a range of options of those kinds. And kind of speaking, Betsy, to what you were saying, and also David, you're saying we can't forget the creative campus. In my mind, the creative campus is the arts, education, and wellness up here. Not so much tangible physical space. This is all still Goddard. When you want to talk about what's going on campus, it's still Goddard campus, just to kind of help us all understand how to communicate about this. Creative campus is programming mostly. You know, the vision of these new housing pieces that might set up in the peripheral of the programming functional part of the campus that's already here now and going. But I just want to be really careful. I remember from thinking back to my days at WGDR and helping that group move from a process of, well, what do listeners want, to actually having some tangible feedback that we could make strategic decisions on and creating new shows. It was a long arc. And the longest part of that process was moving off, just like feeling confident that we had information that was legitimate feedback from the community. And I guess I'm just seeing like we did just do this big process. And that was a really good point, Lydia. Not everyone was able to get there, you know, that's huge. At the same time, there was a point at which the station had to like feel confident that it had put forward enough opportunity to hear enough voices to start something, you know, because otherwise you just kind of go back and spin that wheel over and over again. You reach out again and you reach out. What we got eventually was we already took the survey. Why aren't you guys responding to what we gave you? You know, that's not where we are necessarily now, but I wonder, are we like, is the town feeling like you've met on this? You've heard from us. What are you hearing? Give us back the information you're hearing. So maybe part of our outreach is really putting out to the whole town. Here's what came out of Plainfield Forward in case you missed it.
Yeah.
Here are the big swirling, I think you're about to read them off or something. Here's some of the big swirling takeaways. Can we refine those even more? Or is it now upon this group to start putting some things in action, putting some, you know, pieces of writing out to resource organizations and agencies that might help us build a sidewalk? And all of a sudden a sidewalk shows up. Are we at the point as a town that I don't even live here, as a town that we would think, if a sidewalk started to be developed, would anybody say, that's not what I wanted, right? I don't think so. So it's just, we have to kind of, and I'll go one more time, on the 10 priorities on the wall at the end of Plainfield Forward, what was interesting is each one kind of pointed at the one next to it a little bit. So we could do a further refinement of those takeaways from Plainfield Forward and come away with like even a more refined top 2 or 3 and say, oh, look, it actually showed up, you know, the laundromat showed up in 6 of the top 10, you know, whatever we see type of, you know, I guess I just want to make sure we don't not really wring the juice out of all of the resources that we're sitting on right now.
So, yeah, no, those were all really good points. And I think that, focusing on the people who didn't get to have their voice heard. So then that way we aren't being redundant. So to speak. And actually, I don't know, Will, if you know this, am I allowed to change an addition that I had to the agenda? Because it would actually make more sense to talk about mine and Hazel's update for the working group maybe now.
Sure.
after we're done with this thing? Okay, okay, so I'm gonna do that in just a minute, but I kind of wanted to summarize, we really were talking about like the identity of the town, a timeline and assessment, outreach, and also like the smaller low hanging fruit things like a sidewalk, or revitalization, like fixing things up. So that was kind of how I heard it as a summary. Do you all think that's accurate? Like, yeah.
I just wanted to add two things. One, the revitalization part. I'd like to have part of the if there's outreach, if we figure out how to do outreach, I think we want to outreach to people outside of the village about deficient housing outside of the village too, and see if there's ways we can help with that, because there are.
Yeah.
And there are people who are struggling and all of that, and I think that should be part of the revitalization mission too. It's not as obvious, it's not as in our faces. And the other thing that take away from the meeting, which it doesn't fit us exactly, but I think we should be keeping in mind, was the Hardwick guy in particular talked about that their hub concept was regional, not just Hardwick. You know, like they've got Greensboro and to some extent that fits with Plainfield too, because it's when I start to visualize like even a survey, I think, well, what about Maple Hill and you know, and Hollister Hill and places that are kind of as Plainfield, but they're really Marshfield. So I think Plainfield, Marshfield, Cabot, at a minimum, and I don't picture as much going.
You know.
I know.
Yeah.
I don't picture it as much because it doesn't matter.
They're in a different
I lump it more with
district,
the Montpelier side
Yeah.
or something funny like that, but yes, absolutely.
Okay. Okay, so I added regional next to identity. So I'm glad you brought that up because I was thinking about that last meeting too. And I forgot about that. So that's a really good point. And that seems,
Excuse me, I just want to say that the people who live in Northwood campus, which is really close to this place, are East Montpelier residents.
wait, so like on the other side of the campus?
Yeah,
right
that way.
behind you.
Yeah, that way.
Next to the Press Center Library over there.
Really?
It was
It's
so
called Northwood.
Yeah.
It's apartments.
But
apartments, and that is right at that line, it's East Montpelier. But so they come to the village of Plainfield to use the post office.
Yeah.
They come here to use the co-op, but now the folks down there, but you know what I mean? They would come to the gas station, say, if they wanted to get to the closest gas station, they'd go
Yeah.
Tim's or whatever,
Yeah.
Maplefield, which is in Marshfield.
And I think some people are hooked up to our wastewater there in Marshfield too, I think.
The Northwood, all those apartments are hooked up to the wastewater,
So it would make
or
sense.
through Goddard.
Makes sense.
So,
Yeah,
every
regional.
place We are the Plainfield, so even the Plainfield Community Trust, which is a different organization, but we do call ourselves the Plainfield Area Community Trust, because we are really, the village is really more than just.
It's a hub by default.
Yeah.
It is, it's a.
This might be a good time then for Hazel and I to kind of give everybody an update about what we're doing. We do have space and permission from the farmers market to be there this Sunday. Hazel has started a little website that we're gonna eventually link from the town website. Kind of our vision that we were thinking of, and we've talked a little bit about it, is like consolidating information.
Nice.
You know, like when you were talking about consolidating the Plainfield
Yep.
Forward information, I
Yep.
was thinking like one little like
Yep.
click Plainfield Forward, and then it's like all summarized and like
Perfect.
what we're doing with that.
That's great.
So we're planning on hopefully having the basic website up and running, just to have it at the table. I'm gonna bring my computer. I'm gonna create a flyer on Canva, just like, hey, Plainfield housing every second and fourth, like this time. And then we're gonna do like the backside or a separate one that's kind of like Are you, well, I don't know if you wanted to talk about it, but.
Yeah, well, we're trying to see if anyone wants to be involved in sort of like a smaller scale housing co-op initiative.
Yeah.
Or land sharing initiative.
Yeah,
We're gonna be
totally.
asking either people who would want to buy into one, or people who have land that they, or property that they want to parcel off or sell.
Like a new hamburger?
Yeah.
Or like, are
Awesome.
you, are you were you displaced from the flood? Do you have land that you wanna like sell off?
Right.
Do you have resources that you want to, like, or labor that you wanna help and like give to this community?
And as part
So-
of like, I have a survey that I designed, so it's kind of just assessing like a small bit of information about what the applicants would want. They can write in little comments, and it's, they can say like, oh, this is what I've experienced in my living situation, this is the difficulties that I've had,
Oh,
or this is what I'm looking for, I either want to lease, or if you're a.
Yeah, I mean, this sounds like a great way to
Yeah.
actually get the information
Yep.
from people. I'm wondering, is there a way to distribute this as a survey more widely to the Plainfield region or
Mhm.
Plainfield hub? We were just discussing, is there like a list of people, or is there a way we could get a full distribution of that to like every person in Plainfield?
we just missed it. Town meeting day would have been a good opportunity.
We're hoping that we're also gonna have like a physical sign up of like, hey, so it's basically a revamped prospective buyers group, but it's just like prospective interest of any kind.
Right.
So like the basic info, like Hazel said, starting some kind of like email listserv. And then I kind of envision more intentional outreach. So like Hazel and I both have connections at the school. So like, can we disseminate information that way?
Nice.
Can we get it out to parents and families? Can we go show our faces there at like pick up or drop, probably pick up, not drop off, and just be like, hey, like we have some information, take a flyer, like give us your email.
Think so.
Going to Northwoods door to door or something, like knocking on houses, whatever, just to kind of,
Like local businesses, even in the area, even down in Montpelier,
yeah.
are very.
So that's kind of like what our hope is with that, is like just start the conversation on Sunday.
Are you able to put a mailer out to every Plainfield address? Is that something you can do? So
The town is
to
it.
buy a town, right? Buy a town mailer of what you're building, you know?
$5,000.
That's what I'm saying. I'm already seeing something else here, which is paying for some of your time. Like, it sounds to me that the Resilience Hub paid themselves to do the work of the strategic plan. That's what I was asking about when Jess and Nick were on. I said, am I seeing that? Did those guys, they are professional facilitators, and building a website and building out those channels and building up and showing up and handing that stuff out. I mean, paying for some of that time, I think, might also be a fair and fine use if you're going to put that much energy into it. You know? Yeah, well, it is. I mean, we could hire a team to do exactly what they're doing, and it would be valid use of the funding, from what I'm understanding. I guess it's up to this group to decide, well, showing up and handing stuff out at the school might not be paid for, but, your work building out the website, that's a professional service, as is your design of the flyer, and where you getting the paper for all that, like, what I mean, probably your own house. Yeah. So I don't think that everyone expects you guys to donate to that level. I mean, we're all here in these meetings as is volunteerism, but then the extra work might be, I don't know if Will,
About that,
Liz,
that's a really good
want to
point.
weigh in on that, Will.
Feeling like maybe this would be our beginning step in trying to survey, getting information survey out. And then maybe we take it the next step with adding more things to the questionnaire or whatever we are using. And then maybe getting some professional input from whatever, regional planning or whoever they recommend. But we could get this polished up a little bit more and then send it out.
Like as a town mailer at that
as a
point.
mailer,
Yeah.
right? It's expensive. I mean, every page is whatever.
Yeah, and it's-
$900.
We used to do that for GDR too,
Right.
with a remittance, so that people could return what we want from them in the same envelope, paid, stamped. So it's so easy for them. They don't just, they just throw it back in the mail to us, type of thing.
We'll have to think about, so for data to be accurate, we have to think about how we're, whether it's a mailer, whether it's online, whether we're at the school or at the farmer's market with a table with a paper copy or a computer that somebody can sit down for 10 minutes and use it. And I think that's that kind of forethought and maybe accessibility has been lacking. So like just making sure that we're very well-rounded when we think of that. So like, yeah, physical mailer, would be really good. But yeah, I didn't even think about like the postage and getting people to actually put it in the mail and return it. So
Yeah.
that would be very important.
Remittance.
I'll stand here while you fill it out.
Yeah.
Hand it back to me.
Well, if we're gonna mail something to everybody's house, I think we should add the whole package, the remittance envelope, so that people send back that information that just doesn't end up in the trash.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or it could be, and it can be really cheap. It could be a postcard. It doesn't have to be a pack full of papers. It could just be a single postcard. Or no, that was a save the date thing. I guess you would need 2 pieces of paper to send stuff back. Yeah, anyway, I think that'd be a good usage, you know, for the whole buy-in. You've got the digital option, you've got the physical option, and that's it. If you don't respond, then you're just,
Yeah, I'm sorry, don't
you're
complain.
on
But
this. Yeah.
and you know, and Hazel's made we're not making the survey really long. It's just kind of like you can take an opportunity to give us like anecdotes, like qualitative data, as opposed to just like, here's my demographic, like I'm looking to buy a house, you know.
Yeah, I wanted to avoid like 1 to 5 scales or anything since it's so subjective. I didn't want to make the process tedious of actually filling it out.
Right.
I'd add a couple of things if there's
Right.
space.
Mhm.
ADUs,
Mhm.
it's a really, the way that Plainfield zoning and I think to some extent throughout the state are facilitating ADUs is pretty powerful. This is not like a tiny house in the backyard. They can be up to 1,100 square feet.
Mhm.
That's the size of the house I live in and raise a family, and you know, it's not
It's a mansion.
and there are significant financial incentives.
For people to put an ADU on their lot.
Yeah,
Oh.
and there are I haven't fully assimilated all the details, but there's also ways of transferring ownership after a certain period of time. Some of the loans that are available are forgivable depending on what happens, how the ADU was used over time. Will might have some of that stuff clearer in his head than I do so far, but it's quite powerful. And when I look at the village in particular, but not just the village, there's some places where people could have ADUs and they wouldn't even notice it. They wouldn't even know that it was on their property because there's some fairly large areas.
Like some houses have backyards
Yeah.
that go
Yeah.
way back.
Well, there's a whole corridor. When I walked through the village with Christy and the guy from Preservation Trust, there's a whole corridor kind of behind the bookshop and then the Gads land and it's a little higher up. And so anyway, ADUs I think is a great thing to include. Also people who would be interested in fixing up old houses, not just new houses.
Well, we put we put a section on there that says like if you want to help in any other way as well. So we're going to specify because who was that one?
There was a gentleman, Jacob, at one of our meetings, and I don't think he was necessarily looking for housing, but he's like, I'm a carpenter and I can like give my time and skills. And we were like, cool. So that's another really big thing that Hazel and I want to do is get even more of the community involved, like to have that, again, bigger buy-in. And also it's just building community in general, resilience, all that. So
I love that idea.
yeah, so if anybody wants to come to the farmer's market on Sunday, that's what we'll be doing, and we're just gonna be like showing our faces, talking, having some flyers, stuff like that, so.
What do you think about adding anything about home sharing? I'm thinking of the elderly and whether they
That's
want to share their home.
Yeah, that's something that we can like talk to people about or put on the lists and then, you know, eventually we're thinking once we got bigger and bigger networks, then we would like split them off maybe into different email lists or something. Like, hey, we're doing a work party and we're cleaning this up, and you said you wanted to come down and do that. So, or whatever it is that they're interested in doing eventually. So we can have a lot of different, I think, like networks of people eventually.
And I just wanted to add on, maybe just a little more in the future on the scale of things, but we wanted to kind of like set up a mixer for people who would be involved so that they could get to know each other. Since since, for
Yeah.
house sharing or a co-op.
Yeah.
You
Something
don't,
less
you don't want,
formal.
you don't want to get stuck with someone, you're like, oh, maybe I don't kind of click with you so much.
Yeah, and instead of like a formal meeting and stuff, like, hey, it's nice out, let's all get together on Saturday at the rec field or something like that. Sorry, that way. I'm always turned around here. But yeah, so that's kind of what Hazel and I have been working on, and we're gonna get going with all that. And yeah, so we've got some steps, some things to do.
Nice. Yeah,
Great.
nice job.
Yeah, I'd love to see the flyer questionnaire whenever you get it.
Yeah, we can send that out. I'm gonna be doing it tonight, actually. So, I can send it out to everybody and we can have the link once it's live. And then, we'll send it to Bob so he can put some kind of like direct link from the town to that page. And it is living in Hazel's Google Drive right now, and we are talking about Google Drive later, so that's also something to think about if they would need to move it.
Is it possible to do a plan for an agenda item for next meeting to be able to sort of like review the survey and the experience that you have at the
Farmers
farmers market, and then potentially see how we as a group might want to take a look at the survey, do any tweaks, additions, and then funnel that into something that we try to do as the bigger distribution generally to the area.
Yeah, that'd be a great idea. Definitely do that.
That is.
All right, we also have the VCDA conference. It's the Vermont Community Development Association. They're having a conference on April 15th. Nick sent this out to a few of us. It's in Montpelier. It's 9 to 4. And there's some stuff geared towards, it looks like starting in a committee like this, but then there's also some agenda items for that conference that where you can just take things a little bit further if you already have started a committee of some kind. And like Jessica said, they'll pay for two of us to go. So some of the things they're going to be talking about, the state of housing. You can learn more about CHIP, which is the Housing Infrastructure Program. Activating a municipal housing committee, which you can pick the other one. So there's local small scale developers. How do you activate certain places? So there's some really interesting information.
What's the date of it again?
The April 15th, 9 to 4.
April. Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so there is like light snacks and stuff, no lunch, but there's a lunch time. But there's a lot of different people from like CHIP, VEPC, VLCT. I don't remember all the acronyms.
VCLT?
VLCT essentially, they wrote it wrong. But what is it supposed to be?
Vermont Community Land Trust.
Okay, so maybe it was
VLCT might also be something.
Vermont Land Community Trust. I don't know.
There is a Vermont Community Land Trust.
I don't know.
It's just the Vermont Land Trust.
No, there's the Vermont Land Community Trust. No.
There's VHCB, which is the Housing Conservation Board. That's probably one of them.
Yeah, but I don't know if anybody else is interested in going. I'm interested in going, but
I will probably go to that.
we could fight it out.
Yeah, I'm interested.
Okay, and we can also
We can use our money for that as
we
well.
can ask to so they are giving us money for 2 people, but we could dip into that 5,000 and
Yeah.
more.
She also said that there's
She also said there could be a third. I feel like there could be a third.
it could be
Really? Maybe a fourth? Did we hear a fourth?
2 people so.
So it sounds.
VCDA, Community Development Association.
Yeah.
Do you know what day it would be? April 15th?
Wednesday.
It's tax day. They're just trying to get us to forget.
I'm happy not to go if everybody thinks of that. I can just get a report. It's fine.
So we got
Consider gone, yeah, if I can.
Yeah, I won't be able to go, so happy to just hear about it after.
okay. So all right, I can send an email with all of you guys on it to Jessica. Did you also want to go?
If she has room,
Okay.
sure. If not, I'll be at the tail end with the others.
Yes, no? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Those are always great. It's interesting, the session on building a group like this might be a really good place to figure out our own next steps. Like we might identify ourselves really well there.
Mhm.
Rather than try to get the idea of how to start ourselves up, one of us might go and say, okay, where are we in the process, and where would they have us go next if we were there, you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
Anyway.
the more people that go, the more we can go to different
Right.
sessions and then bring
Yeah,
all that
bring it
information
all
back, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, and then our next agenda item is tech issues with the meeting. We also have steps moving forward next, including Google Drive, but I think maybe we could shove the Google Drive point into the tech issues with the meeting. But will the tech issues with the meeting, were you specifically talking about last meeting?
I thought it went okay, but it sounded like I might have turned the Zoom link off early.
No, that was me. That was
Okay.
me.
Okay. See, I had the way it's set up now we're using the Planning Commission Zoom account, and I had to jump onto another meeting at the health center at 6:30, and I was just watching the proceedings on mute. And then
Yeah.
when I saw everybody clap and stand up, I thought,
Yeah.
well, that's it. They
Me
got
too.
off.
I thought the same
Okay.
thing. That's what I thought.
So I don't think that's a tech issue. I think that's an operator issue.
Yeah, that's an operator issue. I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
building an identity for myself in this group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny.
And then tonight, I am concerned with the tech issue tonight because there should be no reason why we weren't able to use the owl. And I just didn't, yeah, I did everything the same way. And given the time constraint, I kind of exhausted my troubleshooting capacities. So that's an example of how this can happen. However, I think that had I started at 4:30, like I did the times before, and I didn't back so close to the start of the meeting, I might have been able to suss this out. It could have simply been, an unplug and replug thing, which I never quite got to that before I panicked and gave up. But I don't know. I'll let the group hash
Yeah.
the veracity of considering. Yeah.
And what are we reconsidering?
Yeah, it sounds like maybe I don't know. Is there still a consideration that maybe the town hall is a better fit? I can't. Or the opera house is a better fit, or
Well, they're having a DRB meeting right after this, so it would be, it starts at 7. It could work, but you just have to schedule it. The DRB meets the second Wednesday of every month.
Okay, so one
Do-
time a month.
The side proposal is, we would have a person on this committee who is our dedicated tech liaison who can be practiced with our specific equipment.
yeah.
And who can commit to being here well in advance to be able to.
Right.
Let me speak to that really quick. That's true. The one thing is that I can promise is the gear in this room. I can't promise knowing how to troubleshoot it that well. And if the town has its own computer, or if somebody wants to be that tech person with their own computer and their own owl or similar device, this screen is totally usable. You can plug into the screen up here. So there's that too.
I don't think the town's owl would be any easier to hook up than the one that's in the room.
Well, I don't know what's going on with this owl.
Yeah.
I don't trust this owl.
I
Yeah.
If it would make sense, if it's Chris or somebody else, like goes through, figures out the steps and just writes them like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then like some troubleshooting thing at the bottom. Or maybe we could ask for that MTAP money to hire somebody to write that down and tell us exactly how to do it every time. And then that way I don't know.
Well, so then between now and the next meeting, I can get John Baker back in here and we can go through it. My fear is just like when you bring your car to the mechanic, when it's got the clunk, when you get there, everything's working great. I'm just afraid that I'm going to try and recreate today's problem and it won't be there. But I'm maybe you're right, Lydia. It's a matter of a step by step. This is how you set it up for the least amount of fail. Maybe I turned one thing on too early and the other thing on too late, and so there was a weird thing. I don't know.
stuff down.
I
So
wanna-
Chris, let me know when you do that, because I'll set up the Zoom meeting from the Plainfield account, and we can do it 2 or 3 times if you want.
It might just be, the thing to do might be, yeah, okay. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea, something along those lines. I'm looking on the screen right now, it says switch right there. I want to see if I hit it, if this owl comes to life, because a third of the way into the meeting, the owl hooted at me and it sounded like it was ready to
Well,
go.
let's wait till the end of the meeting.
Yeah, let's wait till the end.
Okay.
But then it'll be over. They won't switch over.
Well,
No. We can end the meeting and still keep the thing
Oh,
going.
yes, let's do
I'll
that.
just turn the
Let's do that.
recording off.
Let's do that.
All right, awesome. So then hopefully we'll get like a little list of some kind at some point. Great. And then the next agenda item is steps moving forward and more tech stuff, including the Google Drive. So I know that you just had me send you the meeting minutes, Will, without even putting it in the Google Drive, so we didn't have to worry about that. But I don't know if you had any thoughts for moving forward with it.
I have no skill, experience, or inclination to use Google Drive, so
Okay.
I'm glad to just email stuff around.
Are we beholden to using the town's Google Drive? Can we store our own data independently, or do we have to use the town storage?
I think it was that it doesn't have limited space, and so then we don't have to pay for more space because like on my personal one or most people's personal ones, you'll reach like a 5 GB max. And if we're putting PDFs and doing meeting notes and stuff like that, then it would fill up real quick, I think was the thought that the select board had. But yeah, there's something up with that Google, because I know Google Drive and that thing is whack. I'm sorry. I
It
don't
doesn't
know.
allow editing. None of us are actual editors, so we can contribute, but we can't change it.
So actually, that was one of the issues that Will and Liz and I ran into, and I did some Googling and figured out that we had to be made managers.
Yeah.
So Will and Liz and I can delete documents.
okay.
Yeah, so we do have that permission, but there was some weird thing that was happening where like there was 2 different documents and it was like the correct meeting minutes and then ones that needed to be deleted, but then they were connected somehow and like the meeting minutes just got wiped. It was like the weirdest thing. I had a copy on my computer, but yeah, so I don't know if it's just weird because it's shared with so many people and there's issues, but I have a lot of problems with it and I felt really dumb and I didn't like it. But I'm okay with doing whatever people want to do as far as sharing documents or whatever.
Okay, can I just go over something really stupid? Right now, I found the meeting notes.
Yay.
They were really right, obvious, next to the agenda on Will's email to us. But I was looking for them on Google Drive.
Okay,
I thought they would be on the drive,
gotcha.
and I thought they were in something called shared with me.
Yeah, so what I do is if I'm gonna share Google Drive or a Google Drive document is I send in, you add everybody to it. So I could put a document in Google Drive, type in it, and then hit share, and I can add all 8 of your emails, and it'll send you an email saying, hey, Lydia shared a document with you. So I don't think that happens if people just put it in. So I know that's what I do when I put in a Google Drive and I want people to see it. So if anybody's putting in something, that might be worth noting is like, do you want to notify everybody, like it's meeting minutes, we have to look at this, or you want to just send out an email to everybody, hey, I added this map, why don't you go check? I don't know. There's lots of different ways to do it. And
Well, I just think we need a little bit of systematic.
like
Like
a
we're
system.
always gonna find the meeting notes next to the agenda.
Yeah.
In Will's email or something
Yeah.
like that. Or we're always gonna find whatever other documents.
Yeah.
More detailed documents or something in Drive under shared with me, or, I just need things to be simple, like, just like, go here and I'll, go here,
Yeah.
go here, and then I'll find it, or don't go there, check the email.
I like the idea with the email, when it comes out in the, agenda and if we have the minutes.
Yeah, from
As
the
you
last
can,
meeting.
right, you can just go look real quick and check
Right.
them out and You get it, your finger on top without having to go look.
So what if, oh, sorry, Betsy.
I was just like, yeah,
So what if, like, I do like Will sending that out like that. So what if we just direct email things and then individually add them to Drive? So like everybody will have it in their inbox. And it won't get lost out in Google Drive, but it's also, there's also a copy in Google Drive for like, if, you know, Will sends out the agenda or whoever, and then he adds it in after. That could be an option. I don't know what people think about that.
Fine with me.
Sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
It might be that if it's a group, an email to everybody,
Yeah,
that there would be one person
whoever sends it out.
who knows how to do Google Drive, that would be the person that would add it to Google Drive.
Like I said, I could try once just
Yeah.
because
Or-
that's
or
what
you
we
can-
have.
or you do it.
Yeah, you can ask me. I'm more than willing if somebody asks me to add a document, I can do that. I think if somebody sends a document, like Will, if you're sending the agenda and the meeting minutes from the last meeting, then maybe you would be the one that put it in the Drive after you emailed it out. Or if any, you know, or if you needed help, somebody needed help, you could ask me and I could try. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I can give that a try.
Okay, cool. And then, you know, like if I had a PDF about whatever, I could email that out to everybody and say, hey, I put this resource in there, I'm gonna add it to the Drive. So you could then either look for my email or go with the Drive. Yeah.
okay.
Oh, right. So,
Do
So
you-
one more dumb question. So everything
Go
we
dumb.
got on Google Drive or
Mhm.
whatever is under shared drive,
It should be, yes. So you,
and then it's under shared drive, it says housing committee, whatever, Clinical Housing Committee,
Yeah.
and then you open that up and then it's all these
folders.
documents.
Yeah.
If I,
Oh my God.
Sorry, I didn't, but look, it's, oh,
don't worry about it.
That's-
I didn't think before I did it. Yes, but that is how it should operate.
I was wishing that there were maybe we can make a file in there that says meeting notes.
There should be a meeting minutes folder in there. Can you see that?
I see, oh, yes, I do, but I did open that previously, and under there was a template. And then there were 2 meeting notes, approved notes from January, that's all.
Yes, because we were having issues, so we had to wait for us to get permission to be editors. So that's why it looked, yeah, so the last meeting minutes that came out late, that was my issue, is I was trying to organize, like, create a template, and then I was gonna move it, and then I wasn't able to move it, and then that's how it got all weird and whatever. So we just haven't gone in and like organized it and added everything that should be in there yet. That's all. So it should it will be all in there, and now that we're coming to an agreement about things, we can, like, Will and I can go through everything, probably me, and just make sure it's all added and organized. So I just haven't done it yet because we wanted to talk about it first.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So,
That's not all incompetence.
but
That's not all incompetence on my.
no. It's just that I was making a mess of things and I was like, I'm not touching this anymore. So,
Yeah.
but I should be able to edit it now. But yeah, so if there's anything also that anybody adds, that they want to move or delete, you can let me know too, and I'll go in and do that. Or Will or Liz, but I can be the Google Drive person, I guess. Yeah.
Drive?
Yeah, Google Driver, that's me. Do we have to do any kind of vote for that, or is it not unofficial, like we agree to do that, or we just all agree? We're good? Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I need to vote.
Okay.
That's procedure.
Sorry?
Yeah, that's just our procedure. We're not making any really decisions.
And our next agenda item is next agenda items for next meeting. And we have one already that Graham suggested, review survey farm market information.
Sorry, I couldn't hear that, Lydia.
Sorry, yeah, I trailed off. Review the survey information and information from the farmers market. So we can do that next time. I don't know if anybody has other items, Vicky?
I'm just curious, the resilience group, do we want to schedule
Oh, invite them.
or invite or just get an update from them as to where they're at and what they're doing? And
Do you want to check in with them about that?
It's Francis Rose.
Francis Rose and somebody else, but I don't remember the name.
Ray Carter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to mention that Rose wanted to come and talk about the footpath.
Oh, Rose Paul from the conservation, yeah.
Yeah.
Committee.
Okay.
I can reach out to her. I'm quite friendly with Rose. And then I have a question, which is for the working group on the ordinance
Yeah, hold on.
for dilapidated houses. Has that already been sent to the select board?
I'll speak to that. We haven't done it. I've set up a Zoom meeting with Ray from St. Johnsbury for Friday morning at 11. And uh, David, Betsy, and Vicky, you going to be all in on that?
Yep, I can.
Good.
Yep.
Yeah, I think once we get some ground truthing for about that, we can. But we would bring that to the committee first for a full vote. So
Okay, good.
maybe let's be optimistic and we'll put that on the agenda for a full vote because we'll have it all dialed in by then.
I think it has been sent to everybody, right? Our kind of draft copy that you worked on and then I worked on,
It was?
I believe was sent to everybody. Is that right?
It was, and I had some edits to it, but they were not substantial. They were just kind of, grammatical things. And also in one place it still referenced Corinth
Yeah, we'll straighten those
instead
out.
of Playfield.
Yeah, we'll fix those.
Yeah.
What was the email called that came out with that?
It was February 20th. Updated vacant and dilapidated ordinance.
I don't have that.
You're on the list, but it could be spelled.
Could be
wrong.
Google.
I don't think it's in Google, it's an email.
I can send out a new email with those in it, and maybe that's my first attempt at putting something in Google Drive.
Yeah, because sometimes I'll search things.
And there
don't
could
show up.
come, Lydia, your email, does it have two E's on the end of your name?
Yes, yeah.
Okay,
And when was that sent out?
February 20th
From?
from Will.
Oh, yeah. Why didn't it show up when I searched for it? Okay.
So are we putting that on the agenda for next time we meet or have a discussion about it? What's the thought?
Yeah, that'd be great. 'Cause I think it's one of the low hanging fruit
Yeah.
things that it would be great to get to the select board.
Mhm.
For their, because who knows how long it'll take them to review it and
Will, does that sound doable for next time? Talking about the ordinance?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think there was something else that I thought of, but then I forgot.
Did you say you could send it out again? Or you?
I will.
Yeah, thanks. I think I can put it somewhere, but like if you can't put it in the Google.
I had to scroll all the way down, like it was.
Try the
typed in
switch.
Updated. Oh, hold on, we gotta announce the next meeting is March 25th here at 5 o'clock. I'm pretty sure I got the date right. And then we are gonna wait. Do we have to move to adjourn? I forget.
Actually, hold on 1 second.
Okay.
So March 25th is the beginning of the next cabaret, which uses this room as its overflow space.
Oh,
So this might actually be something to consider. I can definitely find us another room that would work.
okay.
If they're in here, maybe we use the clock house, which is right outside. It's right in the center of the quad out there. It has a clock house on it.
I know nothing.
Let me work on that. If not, maybe they, can keep their stuff to the back over there and we'll be over here and it's fine.
Okay, so possibly stay tuned on location. So
Yeah.
if you're listening
Somewhere
out
up
there,
here, yeah,
make sure you check the agenda before you show up here. next
Yeah,
time.
just let us know before we put the agenda out.
Yep, I will.
Okay.
maybe the owl would work in the closet.
Yeah, maybe.
Would anybody like to move to adjourn the meeting, or I move to adjourn the meeting?
I second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Lydia.
Nice job.
Thank you.
All right, Will, tell me